Hi, I'm Susie, and I design and press cookie press discs. We have more than 250 shapes and over 30 themes, designed and manufactured right here in the United States by our small family-owned company. Now you might be thinking that a cookie press is just for Christmas and Christmas trees, but I want you to think again, because I'm going to show you how to get creative with your cookie press all year long. Hi again from sunny Colorado, which is extra appropriate today since Colorado happens to be home to the Olympic Training Center. And as you might know, it's also home to lots and lots of ski slopes. So as we're closing in next week on the 2018 Winter Olympic Games, I thought it would be fun to bake today in honor of the Olympics. So we're going to be using 3 of our patriotic discs, the Star, the USA, and the Flag, and they're from the patriotic disc set. And I'm going to be debuting a new disc, which is the medal. So I'm going to be making gold medals, silver medals, and bronze medals in celebration of the Olympics. And this disc is going to be available in our Celebrate set, which will be coming out this spring, but we decided that in honor of the Olympics, we're going to debut it soon. Going to debut it early. And if you order the patriotic set anytime between now and February 26th, which is the day after the closing ceremony, you'll get this for free in the patriotic set. You can get our disc sets either on Amazon or on our website, impressbakeware.com, and on our website you can also get the discs individually, so if you're just looking for this one, you can get it there. So, happy Olympics, go USA, and let's go ahead and get started. Today I'm going to be making my cookies with my simplest Spritz dough, and that's the vanilla powdered sugar Spritz. The only thing we're going to do to it is we're going to break it into 3 parts and leave part of it plain and make part of it blue and part of it red to tint the dough. And then we're just going to be using some edible pearl dust and some icing to decorate the cookies. So for now, let's just get started with our recipe, which is the simplest one that I've got. And it always begins, I am a broken record about this, you always have to start a Spritz recipe by creaming your butter really, really well. So I'm going to put this mixer on the highest setting and cream the butter until it changes to a slightly lighter yellow and has nice little peaks as though you were whipping something. I'm just going to tip this up and let you guys take a look in the close-up camera about what I mean. That butter kind of turns from that, brighter yellow into a lighter yellow, and it has some really pretty nice little peaks there. Okay, with the butter properly creamed, our next step is to add the sugar. In this case, it's powdered sugar. Add it a little bit at a time so that you don't end up inhaling powdered sugar, which is absolutely no fun. Once it's been creamed really well again with the sugar, you want to add your wet ingredients. And in this recipe, it's extremely simple. It's just a tablespoon of vanilla. And in it goes. We're going to whip it, kind of cream it one more time, and then when we add the flour mixture, it's just going to be a nice incorporating until the flour is evenly incorporated and everything is evenly wet. I have a wonderful smelling, very vanilla foundation here for my cookies. It's whipped up really, really nicely. And now our next step is just to add this flour mixture that is flour, a little bit of baking powder, and salt. Add it a little at a time so you're not inhaling flour either. Now that I've got the flour mixture incorporated into the butter mixture, I'm going to pull out a blob of this dough and we'll take a look at it together in the close-up camera. I always like to explain about the unique texture of Spritz dough. It has a wonderful, soft, malleable texture that kind of mushes in your hands, sort of like a soft Play-Doh. And the neat feature is it breaks apart so that you can imagine it going onto the cookie sheet and you're going to be breaking those shapes off as you pull up the press. So that's what you want, is something that isn't so stiff that it's really difficult to handle, or something that's so mushy that it's sticking all over your fingers. This isn't really sticking to me at all. So you don't want a dough that's too sticky and you don't want a dough that's too stiff. You want something that's just nice and easy to work with like this. And you can always troubleshoot a Spritz dough. If you need to, if you find that it's too stiff, add a little water, a tablespoon at a time, until it's this good consistency that'll press well. And if you find that it's a little too sticky or a little too soft, go ahead and add flour, a tablespoon at a time, until you achieve exactly what you're looking for. I'm going to clean up here a little bit since this looks like a very pressable dough and get us ready with our baking sheets so that we can get to pressing. Before we get to pressing, we want to split our dough into 3 parts so that we can have some red dough, some blue dough, and some white dough. I left a chunk of it aside that's just going to stay untinted, and I have a smaller blob that's going to be blue dough that we're going to do the USAs in, and I've got the largest blob that we're going to do tint red so that we can do the stars and the flags with a red base. You always want to use a gel food coloring and not a liquid, because a liquid's going to change the consistency of your dough as much as water or any other, full-on liquid would do. So if you use a gel, like today I'm going to be using Wilton gel colors, but there's several companies that make it. You can get it at Walmart or Michael's, someplace like that. You just want to add it a little bit at a time, because you can always add more, but you can't take it back out. So what I'm going to do is to show you about how much I'm adding to this. And I'm going to take 2 toothpicks. This is my favorite way to do it. Either that or the tip of a knife. And just take a blob here, and I'm just going to drag it and poke it on into the dough. And I'm going to do this by hand. And Mr. Bear here, who is all patriotic and has a flag today. I don't know if you can see Mr. Bear and his flag. Barry's helping me out again. We just want to keep adding this a little bit at a time. So I'm doing about two scoops worth with the toothpicks, and then I'm going to do this by hand because I'm doing multiple colors and I don't want to have to wash my beaters or anything like that. So now that it's smushed on in here, I'll get it started with a spoon so that I'm not completely making my hands red. The nice thing is, if you wash your hands pretty quickly, you can get this off your hands, so you're not going to end up red, white, and blue, for the next week or 2. It's just temporary. So just get it started so that the gel color is mixed into the dough before you pick it up. And you can keep doing it with a spoon if you want, but I like to pick it up because it just goes a little bit faster, and it's kind of fun to play with. Let's be honest here. This is like turning into a little kid again and getting a chance to play with some Play-Doh. So I'm going to pick this up and show you how I do this. You're just going to want to kind of knead it around and keep smearing it out in your hands and then folding it back on itself. And just smear it and fold it, and smear it and fold it, and smear it and fold it. And the more times, I'm flinging it everywhere, the more times you smear it, the more it starts to incorporate. It's that smearing process that kind of drags the color through the dough. You can even set it in a bowl, I like to do this too, and just use your knuckles and just kind of wipe it through there. Now I can already tell this isn't going to be enough color to do anything more than turn this kind of pink, so I'm going to start adding some more, even though it still has kind of a marbled look. I've got enough experience with this to know that's going to stay pretty pink. So let's grab another couple of toothpicks, and I think it's going to take about twice as much as I added to begin with. So let's do another dunk. And you never want to double dunk back into your food coloring because you don't want to contaminate it with, traces of butter or anything like that that could go bad, because you want to be able to use this again later. So second glob. These will be nice and red. I don't think you can possibly make these too red. It's not like they're supposed to be pink, they're supposed to be red. Very America red, white, and blue. Alright, using the spoon again to start smearing it on in. And then I'll just pick it up and keep working it through and show you what it looks like when I'm done. You can even do it this way too, where you just take it in your fingers and smush it. Just let it ooze between your fingers. If you're not too creeped out by that sensation, it doesn't feel too weird, it's a good way to really smear it up and get that color incorporated. So just squish it and play with it, and before you know it, you have a nice red ball of dough. So that's going to be our stars and our flags. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to the blue, and then we will get to pressing. With the dough all tinted, let's go ahead and get started with pressing. I'm going to start with the plain dough first and press out the metals and see how this dough comes out. It's a little bit dry. It's dry here in Colorado. Remember that humidity and temperature can really affect your dough. So if you find that it's stiff or it's sticky, it could just be your humidity. So remember what I said about adding a little flour or a little water. So we'll see how these guys press. If they're a little stiff, we'll just add a little water and fix it up. So what I want to do, my favorite way to load a press barrel is just to take little blobs of dough, stuff them on into the barrel, and then pack them in like this with the back of a spoon. And you do that so that you can eliminate air bubbles, because air bubbles are going to create uneven pressure in the barrel, so that when you're pressing, maybe one side of your shape will come out thick and one will come out thin, or you'll be losing pieces or missing pieces, and you don't want that because the shapes are the entire purpose of a Spritz cookie. So you want to try and get all those air bubbles out. With the barrel packed, I'm just going to grab the disc that I want. This time it's the metal. Plop it on into the bottom ring and just screw it on. The first thing I always suggest is to set your pressure by giving a click or a twist or press the button, whatever kind of press you have, and just click into the air like this until the dough starts to extrude. That will set the initial pressure so that there's enough pressure to get your cookies out. And then just try to press once you get a good shape in a nice even rhythm. So let's see how these come out, if they stick well and if the shapes are good. Didn't go with the first click, the second one I took. There we go. They look just fine. All right. The humidity did not destroy my dough today. Had a little trouble with that one. Let's see if I can get it to stick. Yeah, came out a little funky. I feel like my pressure is off, so what I want to do is click into the air, wipe this dough away, and start again. Now watch, that should set me back into a good rhythm. There we go. Whenever you feel that you've gotten kind of off click there, and off pattern, just reset by clicking one into the air and wiping it away. And try to think of a cookie press, any sort of cookie press, as just a dough pump. There will be some shapes that are bigger and some that are smaller. I feel like I'm off here again. That one's just a little bit big. Think of it as a dough pump so that whether it takes a full click, a half a click, a partial click, a click and a half, it doesn't really matter. Like this one took about a click and a half. And this one might too, and that's okay. Once you get good at cookie pressing, you'll start to feel the dough stick to the pan. And you'll know, like, that wasn't quite enough, give it a little bit more. Or, you know, if you can feel that it's just oozing all over the pan and pushing you off, you'll know it's not enough. That one I knew was not going to stick. See, that one's way too big. So, back he goes. But it reset my pressure. And there we go. Now I'm completely out. I'm going to pick up this pan in the close-up camera and show you guys how these metals came out. Here we go. We've got a bunch of nice looking metals on here. I think one of them is a little bit too big, this one, but you know, we can have different sizes, that's okay. If there are any you don't like, simply wipe them away and throw the dough back in your bowl or onto your plate. And the other thing you can do with these, if you like, I'm going to try and hold this up so you guys can see what I'm doing, is if you don't like the open circle at the bottom of the metal, take a finger and simply push from one side, the other side, and then straight down and tap on it until it's nice and flat. So if you want a flatter looking metal bottom, just flatten these out like that. Tap, tap, smush. That's it. And you can also take, of course I didn't think to have it with me, you can also take a little thing of water here and just tap your finger. Where's the one that I smushed? Here he is. So, and just then tap on it to smooth it out. And then you'll have a nice smooth surface that looks like a very, very flat metal. It's kind of neat, these look kind of raised the way they're like this, and they'll bake up and kind of close in on themselves. So you can leave them either way, that's entirely up to you. For now I'm going to probably smush half of them before I get them on into my oven and bake them up and show you how they turn out. The metals took about 8 minutes in the oven and they are baked up and ready to be taken off the cookie sheet in a few minutes. I always let them sit for about 3 or 4 minutes because if you take them off too soon, they might break apart because they're still kind of soft and setting. And if you wait too long, they're going to stick to the pan and then they really will break. So give them just a few minutes to sit. In the meantime, I went ahead and packed my barrel with the red dough, and now I'm going to get to pressing the stars and the flags. I'll start with the stars, why not, and see how these guys go. I'm going to set the pressure in the barrel. It's going to take more than one click. There we go, I've got some dough extruding. Let's see how the stars come out. First click didn't do it. Second click. Third, created a big blob. And you know what? This is completely okay. Toss it back in the bowl. This happens even to me, and that one smeared a little bit because I wasn't going in a quick enough pattern. But see, now I've got a nice rhythm going. I mean it when I say those first few cookies can end up easily back in the bowl. So if you're new to pressing and you press the first few and you say, hey, wait a minute, this is impossible. They came out like blobs. Give it some time, because if you get everything reset, they'll come out really beautifully just like these stars did. I'm going to try and fill up some of these spaces. I'm going to get rid of this yucky looking one. Hopefully the dough isn't still extruding. Nope, looks okay. Put that one there, and this one's a little bit fat and lost its definition, so there we go. All right, now I've got a nice set of stars. See, I like to show that even I make mistakes and things go wrong for me, because that's the whole point of this, is to teach how to do this wonderful thing called pressing Spritz cookies. All right, give my disc to Mr. Bear, and I'm going to switch out to the flag disc. Now this is a really interesting one. You're not going to press it straight down onto the pan. We're going to come over to the close-up camera again, and I'm going to show you this funky little technique here. Let's get centered. All right, I don't have a ton of dough left, but we'll get started and then I'll reset it. But this should be enough to watch, to let you see how I do this. All right, I really want to make sure that my disc is going to be straight. So check it out. I'm going to get this in a position so that whatever position I'm comfortable holding this barrel in the air in, the sawtooth design of the flag needs to be upward. Check it out. All right, there's a little sawtooth design to the top, and you want that to be facing up. So just smush it onto your dough right here, and then screw the ring on gently and lightly so that you don't make it change position from where it is. All right, get any goopy dough along the edges there. Now check out what we're going to do. We're actually going to extrude this into the air, and then I'm going to drop it onto the pan. Now watch. You're just going to give a click. This might take more than a click, and that's fine, until it looks about flag length. I'm going to take my finger and just cut it and drop it to the pan. See? So one, maybe a little bit more. These two kind of broke a little bit, but see, you can smush them right back together. Just take your finger and just push it in like that. So you might want to try and do it a little more quickly than I just did. There you go. See, like a click and a half. Whatever it's, whoa, gonna take. See, mistakes, even I make them. Cut it with your finger right onto the pan. There, that was perfect. My dough wasn't coming out perfectly at first, but now it's coming right out. Right down towards the pan. Break it off with the back of your finger. Now I'm in a rhythm. There you go. See, what seems impossible at first works out just fine. And squeeze the trigger, or twist your twist handle, whatever you have, nice and slowly on this. You want the dough to come out nice and evenly. And then just let it drop onto your finger. Push any parts that started to fall apart, because they'll come together as it bakes. They'll end up just fine. But I've got one more left in here before I'm out of dough. There we go. Am I out? No, I think I have one more. Let's try. Squeeze that out. Plop it down. Now, can this guy be rescued? I highly doubt it. Ha, it's pretty broken. We'll throw it back in the bowl. This one's kind of broken, and that one's kind of broken, and that one. So the flags are a little bit tricky. There's a little bit of, and this dough is a little bit dry, like I said. So if you find that you want it, oh, I'm out of dough. If you want them to come out a little more smoothly than that, and your dough is too stiff, add just a little water, work it in with your hands. If you find your dough is too runny and it won't break off nice and clean, then add a little bit of flour to stiffen it up. Now the last thing we want to do to work on these is take a little spatula like this, and you can just clean up the edges. Clean up all your little edges here, and then make the ends nice and straight. Just pull it away. See? I'm going to pause and do this in the really tight close-up camera. Nice squared off edges. Just like that. Make them about flag length. Clean them up a little bit. So I'll get done cleaning them up, and I will get these on into the oven, and then we'll be able to decorate them with icing when they come out. I loaded the press this time with the blue, and now we're going to press out our very last shape, which is the USA. So make sure you put it in the right way so that it's going to say USA and not be in reverse. This is one of our only discs that it actually matters which way you put it in, because it spells out the word. Actually, I guess that's an abbreviation. United States of America. Okay, reset the pressure in the barrel. One didn't do it. Two got it to extrude just a little bit, so we'll see if this takes 1 or 2 clicks and if it comes out right. Otherwise, we'll just reset our pressure. Took 2. It's a little bit fat, but that's okay. That one's a little bit fat too, so I don't want to do these too big. See, these are taking kind of partial clicks. There. Now I'm in a 1 click, but you could do a little less than a click to keep the shape a little bit smaller. So they don't quite take a full click. If you give it a full click, they're just going to smush out a little bit. So I'll give you a quick close-up. They say, it'll focus for me here. They say USA. I'll take some pictures and get them in the oven. Now that the cookies are all out of the oven, we are ready to do our last step, which is simply decorating. We're just going to be using some colored icing, which you can either use from a tube, which you can get at many stores, or you could make your own royal kind of decorating icing and tint it yourself. But today, I'm going to take the easy way and just use stuff I got at the store. The other thing we're going to be using is some edible pearl dust, and I've got gold and silver and bronze for the metals, and I have some little edible stars here, and I've also got some blue pearl dust because it looks really nice when you shimmer it onto the USA blue cookies. So the first thing I'm going to go for is the metals. I'm going to start with one of the more open circled metals, and I'm going to do them all the same way to create the ribbon that's going around the recipient's neck in red, white, and blue, because this is a USA patriotic design here. We're going to start on the outside and use our red, and I'm using a number 16 Wilton star tip, so it's going to make kind of a ribbony pattern. And all you want to do is start on the outside. See the ridges here? I want to do the red on the outside of the ridge, the white right on the ridge, and the blue just inside the ridge. So let's go ahead and start this off. It's a new tube icing. Hopefully it comes out nicely. And I'm just going to trace around the outside, just like that. Don't let it come out too fast. And then now we're going to do the white on the inside of the red. Again, just following the design that the cookie lays out for us. Line them up evenly. Okay, and then the blue. Red, white, and blue. Nice ribbon for all that winning we'll hopefully be doing in the next couple of weeks. The last step, and we're going to make this a gold medal to make it, woohoo, we really won. Those are always exciting, is, let me grab my brush here, is to take the pearl dust. It's just a little jar of edible pearl dust. It's another Wilton product. And we're just going to tap it into here. Let's see, tap it in, tap it off a little bit, and then just dab it on, right onto the plain cookie itself. You don't need to ice these first. There's enough butteriness to this kind of cookie that the pearl dust actually sticks right to it. I use this on quite a few designs. Pardon my doggy whining in the background there. I think he says I've been baking and recording too long. There we go. So look at that. Now we have a red, white, and blue ribbon along with our gold disc. Gold disc, the gold medal of the bottom there. There you go. And the same thing would go for the silver and the bronze pearl dust. I just did another cookie, this time with one of the ones that we used our fingers to go smush, smush, smush and flatten out the shape of the metal. And now I'm going to add some silver dust to this one, tap it on in, and then just tap it onto the disc. Boy, Rufus is just so jealous of all these cookies. He can't stand it. That's my little Maltese doggy over there. The one who was whining because it was hurt back in my last video. So, here we go. Now we have somebody who's won a lovely silver medal. Right on, just dab it right on and just kind of smooth it in. And there you go. Just wanted to show you how it would look on the smoothed out one. There we have it. And you can see it in the pictures, but there's the more open design, which just gives it a little bit of three-dimensionality. It looks cool too, or you can flatten them on out. While I'm working with the pearl dust, I may as well go ahead and do the other cookie design here that I'm decorating whoops, with pearl dust, and that's just the blue USA. And I just like that it just adds a little bit of pizzazz, a little sparkle, makes the relief, you know, the three-dimensionality of it kind of stand out a little bit. Tap it back in here. And it just adds a little bit of fun. So there we go. Just tap it in. Give it a little blow so that it doesn't end up kind of all over the place. There you go. A nice sparkly USA. Our last two designs are the star and the flag. And for the star, we are going to use that same white icing with the number 16 tip and just trace inside the space here, inside the little star in the middle and the ridge star on the outside. So I find this easier to do kind of in my hand, and just trace it on out. Just go down and up, back. Just trace it, down and up. Then you've got a nice star design that kind of accentuates the star shape of the cookie. And if you want, you can go on the ridge itself, or you can go just on the outside of it. And if we wanted to, we could even add a little blue star in the middle, since this is a star-shaped tip. Make it a little more festive that way. There you go. Red, white, and blue star. For the flags, I'm also going to be using the round tips. You can use either probably the number 3 or the number 5, just a round kind of writing in dots tip. And right now I've got a number 3 on the blue, and I'm just going to create a little blue square up in the corner here. You want to leave enough space so that you've got room for 3 long white stripes on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. The nice thing about these grooves is that they're going to leave enough, they're kind of your guideline, and they show you how much space you actually need. So I'm going to go just above where the 3rd little stripe of white is going to fall into the groove, and I'll just start piping out a square. And I'm just going to eye it and say that looks about right. And then squiggle, squiggle, fill it in. Try and keep it somewhat square, and then just use another little dipping dish of water and just flatten it all out. Oops, hang on. I think I need all my hands here. Just tap it out until it forms a nice little square. And while it's wet, you want to take some of these cool little edible stars. These are edible glittery stars. Here's our flag. And just get a few under your hand here, or you can shake them right out of the jar if they're not coming out too fast. Let's see how I can do. And it's not going to be exactly like the American flag, but we'll all know exactly what it stands for. Oh, don't want too many coming out. Whoops. That's exactly what I didn't want to happen. So normally I do this a little more precisely, but trying to wrap up our video here today. So there we go. Now we've got some stars in the blue field of the flag. There you go. And now I'm just going to add the stripes. Any little stars that run away, you can just brush aside with your finger or a toothpick or one of the brushes. Alright, now I'm using a number 5 writing tip. It's a little bit bigger and it fits kind of perfectly in the space here, but a 3 tip would do just as well. 2 is a little bit small and it'll make your flag look a little more red than red and white, so, you know, try and find what works. Okay, and just fill in right into these grooves. And keep a nice steady even pressure and just go right off the edge. Right into the groove. Nice even pressure so it doesn't get wavy. Keep your tip clean. Right into the groove. And now these are going to come all the way across, obviously. So start off the edge, come all the way across, and then drape it over. Come up here, fill it right into that groove, and then we'll use our toothpicks to clean these up. And as you see, baking really did. Any of those edges that you think, oh no, they're broken when you're first pressing them, they're going to kind of bake away and look just fine. So now I'm just going to take a toothpick and clean off those edges, sort of cut them away, just like that. There you go. And now you have a nice clean edge. Oops. There you go. And now we have an American flag. Whoops! Lost sight of my camera here. American flag. I finished one type of each decorating for these cookies, including doing a gold, a silver, and a bronze in both the metals with the ridges and metals with the flattened out metals. And now that you've seen all the decorating techniques, that's all there is to this bake. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope everyone really enjoys the Olympics this year, and I want to wish luck to all of the athletes around the world. May this be an Olympics full of good sportsmanship and lots of wonderful memories. The Winter Olympics have always been special to me because I was a figure skater as a kid, so I know I'll be enjoying this along with the rest of you. As always, happy baking from Impress Bakeware.